Professor Daniel Ichang'i is the former associate professor at the Department of Earth and Climate Sciences at the University of Nairobi, and he sits in the hot seat this morning. Professor, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, okay. 50-50.
50-50?
As usual.
Comme ci, comme ça.
Where did you throw the other 50?
You said we're rich, we're poor. That's life.
Okay.
There's good and there's bad. But we're doing well. We thank God.
Indeed,
Yes,
we do.
yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
As is our tradition, which you may know, we welcome our guests with a proverb. CT Muga, who's not here today, normally goes around the African continent,
Yes.
comes back from a different country every week with a basket full of proverbs. This week, he has delegated his responsibility to one Mark Bichachi,
Yes.
and we are in the country of Mozambique.
Yes.
He'll share the proverb with you, and we would like to hear your interpretation.
Yes. So if you fail to be a lizard in your land, you will fail to be a crocodile in another land.
If you fail to be a lizard in your own land,
Yes, you will
you
fail.
fail. You cannot. I agree.
Yes.
You cannot. If you fail to be who you really should be in your own home, your own country, in your own sphere, how can you hope to lead or do better in other places? So that's life.
Indeed.
Be the best you can be where you are. In the studio, at home. If you're a father, be the best father to your own children. Yeah, I think that's a good.
I like that.
It's a good one.
Very good way to actually start our Friday and be told, you know what, where you are,
Yeah,
be the best you can.
exactly.
Be a crocodile.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People are trying to be crocodiles in other jobs, but the ones they have, they're doing very poorly.
Indeed.
So be the best you can be where you are.
Well, well said. Well
Absolutely.
said.
Well
Thank
said.
you. Thank
For
you.
sure. Be the best you are. Oftentimes when we talk about the resources that nations have
Yes.
and what they're able to do with them, the human aspect comes into play in terms of actually what is being implemented, what is being planned, what is being carried through. We're talking today about rich but poor. Sounds like an oxymoron that you have so much, but we're still not able to tap into that potential that we have. And so that forms the basis of the conversation that we will have this morning. Kenya's untapped mineral wealth.
Yes.
Let's start from the end of that statement, shall we? And that there seems to be an abundance of mineral wealth that Kenya has. You being in the position whereby you've studied this, you've taught this. So let's start from that. What does Kenya have? First of all, before we talk about how it is or is not being exploited.
Well, let's start with the country itself. It's a very strategically placed country. The equator passes right through our country. You know, that's the line that divides the sphere into two.
Yes.
It crosses Kenya. And you can decide today to have breakfast here, South Hemisphere, and we can have lunch in the Northern Hemisphere.
True.
There are very few countries you can do that about. The next thing is the size of the country. It's not a very small country. It's bigger than France by 40,000 square kilometers. And I use France as an example because of their bullet trains. You know, they are a first world country.
Yes.
Kenya is larger. Then we have an ocean, the Indian Ocean, east side of Africa. With the next country to the north of us, Somalia, has a very long coastline.
Yeah.
And I think this argument can go double for them. When you have an ocean frontage, you're open to the world for trade. Then we come to the resources within that land, the minerals, which we are here to discuss about. Indications are that we have everything from oil and gas to gold.
Yeah.
The reason that we haven't benefited from this is actually us to blame. We are not using the expertise in and around the country optimally. So Kenya is wealthy, and if you look at the price of gold since Mr. Trump went on his tariff war, the prices have skyrocketed. I don't think they have been this high ever. With 1 gram of gold going for $107. If you think of all the gold we may have in a country of our size, 580,000 square kilometers, everywhere from Nyanza to Western to Moyale to the Rift to the coast, it begins to look like we are not poor. But we need to do something to organize ourselves better, to take advantage of this. Supposing I come to your house, I bury 100,000 shillings under your bed and you don't know about it. You will go hungry the first day, the second day. The money is there. But it will have to take someone to tell you, hey, there's something here that can help you.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is my view. From my understanding, we have metals, we have non-metals, we have oil and gas, we have coal, we are told. We have water. Water is a precious commodity. And we have the land. But most importantly, we have the people. Yes.
You know, Prof, as you talk, I have seen people talk about the gold in Nyanza. I've heard people talk about Savorite in Savo. I've heard about mining of iron ore in Voi and things like that. And as Kenyans, you know, even Kenyans living near the Tsavo today, I don't know whether they know how to get a Savorite themselves. It is almost as if those who mine and use these resources are a class of people that we don't quite understand, and the rest of us don't look at minerals as an opportunity we can explore at whichever scale, whether it's small scale panning for gold or it's large scale mining for iron. We seem to be detached because of lack of information from what you're saying. So, for example, someone living in Western Kenya, right? Instead of planting sugar cane and maize and keeping chicken as we do, what resources are there and what can we do to actually tap into those resources? Taking Western Kenya as an example, selfishly for the Luyas like me.
Yes. But Luyas also have chicken, and it's very well done.
As we've been reminded.
All chickens are ours.
Yes. And it's one of the places we should go to every Christmas.
Yes.
Because every home you go to, you get big meal.
No, in fact, it's not a Christmas thing.
It's not a
Christmas thing.
It's not an issue.
You come anytime.
Anytime. There will be food.
Yes.
And very well prepared food. Now, you'll be surprised. A lot of... You can put people who deal with minerals into two groups. The artisanal, you and me, common people. And some of them are very, very good when you talk about Savorite.
Yes.
They know exactly what to look for. They've done it for 40, 50 years, and their children have grown on it. So they do know, many of them.
Yeah.
And then you have the giants, people with investment now doing iron ore everywhere. But not all of us can work in that area. What we need, and that's where the role of government is, to go around the country and find out what is where. What are we finding where? And to do systematic study. And then you can call in whoever. If you find it's a huge deposit, you can bring in the giants.
Yeah.
If it's small little occurrences here and there, encourage your people. Now we have geologists with 1 degree, but we don't have the resources to do the big thing.
Yeah.
But they have the knowledge to do the ordinary panning.
Okay.
So let me ask.
Yes.
Let's put a value to this, because you said we're mineral rich, but we're poor.
Yeah.
Give me a value, let's say, of the amount of gold, both large and small scale, across the country. What numbers are we looking at?
So let me say
Billions
this.
of shillings,
Yeah,
billions of
it is definitely, but this is not a game of shillings. Forget shillings. Let's go dollar.
Yes.
Right now, a gram of gold is $107.
Yes.
Yeah.
A teaspoon, gold is heavy.
Yes.
Let's suppose we have a barrel of sugar, 250 centimeter cubed amount of gold. That's 5 kilos.
Yeah.
5 kilos. And every kilo is 14 million shillings right now. 13, 14 million. That amount of gold will be 14 times 5. 8 million shillings now.
80 million, yeah.
80 million. So
70 million rather, sorry.
If you have a small mine, and I am aware that there are about 2 to be opened, that produce 100,000 troy ounces a year. Multiply that with the price of gold today, which is around $3,500 per 1 troy ounce. Dollars, 3,500 times 100,000. It's not something to look at.
Yeah.
And that's one mine. If there are 2, double that amount. If there are 3, I study this and I estimate that from 1930 to just about the independence, we mined about 1 million troy ounces in this country.
From 1930 to independence?
To independence, during the colonial period. From the data I'm able to get, because after independence, data seems to have disappeared for obvious reasons. What you do not know cannot hurt you.
Yes.
But the colonial records indicate to me that from Western Kenya and Nyanza then, we might have mined a very clear $1 million, 1 million troy ounces.
And what would be an estimated cost of what it was going for in that period?
Oh, that it was not. It was cheap.
So what?
It was about $40-50 then, I think. But today, the same troy ounce is $3,500.
Okay, so if we were to look at that and say that, let's say 1 million troy ounces mined over what period of time today, what would that look like in terms of timing?
That if you were to do today?
Yes.
What we would
Is that available today?
It is available. Okay. It is there.
So over what are we looking at from the 2000s until today? Are we looking from 2010 until now? Could we get 1 million troy ounces of gold in Kenya between 2010 and present day?
I don't know about that statistic because that's the government who
would tell
us. But I know it's there in the ground for sure.
Okay.
In fact, if you go to some places like in Ghana, one mine, is able to produce that every year.
Okay. So let's say that it's 100,000. Let's say, because it's, again, going into development circles, when you talk about the possibility is when that grows into a reality,
indeed,
isn't it?
Indeed.
So 100,000, and if we're going at $3,500 per ounce, and we just do that. So essentially what we're looking at is, in a year, possible $350 million could come to Kenya.
Yes.
And this is on the lower side from what you're saying.
Very, very much lower side.
If a country like Ghana, which, I mean, they're called the Gold Coast for a region, for a reason, is producing that in a year, 1 million in a year.
From one mine.
Yes. And Kenya, 100,000 in a year from one mine, and this is probably putting it on the lower side.
Yes.
We're talking about $350 million into the Kenyan economy from gold.
One commodity.
From one commodity.
Yes.
So, my question would be, if this potential exists, and you and I and the 3 of us are sitting in a room discussing it, you as an expert, obviously, because this is your field, there are others, we have an entire ministry
yes, indeed,
that is geared towards this thing alone. Surely they must know the potential as well.
They do.
Okay. So why then would we not see that there's an exploitation of this resource being put towards development in the country?
It's the same thing even in agriculture. It's the same thing in education. Why are we doing poorly when we could be a giant of a nation? It's a leadership issue as far as I'm concerned. And I saw somebody, and I've said it elsewhere, you ask an expert, you are equal to being one. So do we consult the right people? Right now I find that if I discover something, and I was involved in the Embu thing, by the way, I'm still involved in it. We're the ones who said there's coltan, the stuff they mine in DRC, here. My friend, before you get a license, even a renewal, it's taking forever. Somebody is too busy to grant us and to let Kenyans free. This is our country. But if you are not going to be licensed in a hurry, if you are not going to be facilitated, how can you get down? This is a very expensive and risky business. So why are we poor? Let's go to oil and gas also.
Okay.
Turkana. As far as I know, we have at least 1 billion barrels, and this was the first find. We haven't worked that field to say, okay, there's oil here. We know there's about 1 billion barrels here. Where have we looked at every square inch? No, we haven't. If we have 1 billion barrels, oil futures right now are hovering around $63 per barrel. A barrel is about 159, 156 liters.
Yes.
So do your maths again. 1 billion barrels so far discovered, recoverable, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
times $63. Isn't that another $63 billion there?
Yes.
If we were to work every single area in that corner of Kenya, we probably will end up with 10 billion. Why are we poor?
That is an
That
excellent
is, why
question.
are we poor?
I'm asking, I think 2019, 2021, around there,
Yes.
there was a geological survey that
Yes.
was carried out by the country, and the country identified the various minerals across the country. And it was a very exciting read,
Yeah.
right? From coltan, rare earth minerals,
Everything.
gold,
Yes.
silver.
Yeah.
It's a very heavily rich country.
Yes.
My logical expectation then was that the government would encourage Kenyans and foreign investors and all of these people to come in and be able to operate. What I find is there is a lack. You talked about licensing. I think there's a lack of willingness to make these opportunities available to the public, even from the information point of view. Is it a cartel? Is it that our government does not take it seriously? Is it ignorance? Is it lack of technology? Because the information was there in black and white, right?
Yeah.
But the traction towards it is slow. So what is the missing link here?
I think you can add fear to that list. Because some of these minerals, if you begin to let everybody know where everything is, you talked about Western Kenya, the populations there.
Yes.
If now we are going to mine gold under your house,
Yeah.
there's going to be some conflict. I think fear of...
I would like that problem. I don't know why you're saying it like it's a bad thing. I can announce now all the Wekesas and Fungututis I'm related to. If there's gold under my house, you can bring it. I can now afford watching it.
Yeah, but government has to look at other things.
Yes, yes, it does.
But I think also there may be groups out there. You call them cartels, who want to maximize on this. But, oil and gas, you can't do it on the back of a truck.
Yes.
It's a big infrastructure that we have to set up. You saw Talo the other day, I was told they have sold out, the discoverers, to Gulf Energy. That was the company that discovered even the Uganda oil. They were talked to nicely by Kenyans.
Yeah.
We may have been involved. And they came over to look at our the Rift Lake that is Turkana, and they found some oil. Now what we expected was, let's move in there and look at every square inch. And by the way, that is just one corner.
Yes.
The least prospective, we thought, when I was going to school, was that corner. There are other areas towards the coast. There's what we call the Anza Graben, another rift in Wajir, that area.
Yes.
Which look much more prospective, Lamu area.
Yes, yes.
There is gas we are importing from Tanzania.
Yes.
Why do we need to import gas from Tanzania while we have our own? They have the infrastructure, we don't. So this is, from a planning point of view, a very heavy area.
So, Prof, by way of
You've done the maths, by the way.
I have, and it's I think my calculator, which by the way is second tier level, has done a thing and gone to E by 12. So in terms of, it's got 9 zeros. There's 63 before them.
Yes.
So the potential of what we can be doing for me is a bit. It's saddening.
Yes,
it's not exciting for me, because I think we passed exciting a while ago, and now that we can do this, then it becomes sad. And I say we because we take into consideration the things that happen around the continent. Sadly, exploratory engagements or activity for a lot of the countries, and I use Kenya as an example because we are here now, but for a lot of the countries that are richly mineral resourced, used external exploratory activity, and these folks never went away. I look at Ghana, one.
Yes.
I look at Nigeria. I look at Botswana. South Africa. Here, Kenya. Zimbabwe. Tanzania. We cede ownership or we cede birthright of these mineral resources to others who have the technology. We get the minimal gains and we accept the minimum and then allow them to take the profits away. Why do we do that over and over and over again? They have examples of what they did. I look at the California gold rush in 1949 and what happened after that. That money didn't go anywhere but California. California's economy is richer than many African states combined today. That's one state.
And all of them combined.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what, and I keep saying, these are human beings. They've got 2 heads and 2 feet, one head rather, and 2 feet like the rest of us. What is it that makes us not able to garner and to keep like they have done?
Oh dear, this is, you're almost going to cause me to be a revolutionary, and I don't want to be.
I like how you speak so nicely and revolutionary, but that's what we need, maybe.
We have seen, even in Western Africa now, countries which are being led by younger military officers telling France to their face, no way are you going to take our uranium for cheap. But the problem starts with us. When they come in here and find diamonds, like Williamson did, and by the way, he graduated in the same room I did at McGill. The only difference was 50 years. And his certificate is there to intimidate every graduate student. You're told that's one of our products. He came here and he was very broke at the end of it. But God is amusing. One evening he found diamonds when he was at the end of his line. Is it greed that drives us this way? Because in Kenya, there are many people who would do very well in many things. But when it comes to the facilitation, when it comes to the licensing, when it comes to the permits, they are locked out. Why is it that we do not want to give our people chances? I do not know. Is this an African thing? Or is it a human thing? I think it's more like a human thing. Because even these others, if you look at what Belgium did in DRC, it's terrible stuff.
Yeah, it's worse than the Holocaust, if you ask me.
Yes, terrible stuff. So we can't only blame ourselves. But surely we have a black president, a black deputy president, we have a black cabinet secretary in charge of this area. Isn't it time? And I've decided, and you are media, let's inform people. Let's see what they will do with this knowledge.
Let me ask a question. So I go to my family farm in Western Kenya.
Yes.
And I dig in the shamba and I see that there's nuggets of gold. And I'm curious. I'm like, what if I dig a 40-foot hole and see if I can get my gold out? Why and how would the government stop me, if at all? And what are the legal challenges or technical challenges, for that matter, that would stop me from going to my farm and harvesting gold the way I harvest carrots?
It is your farm, yes. But when it comes to minerals, according to the law, minerals belong to all of us, to the people of Kenya. That's what the Constitution says. That's what the Mining Act says. So your gold is not really yours. It belongs to the, and me also. Thank you for discovering it. Now,
I don't feel like I own any Savorite, by the way. The law may say that.
Now,
do you feel like you own anything?
Now we may move to the next step.
Yes.
But it's on my farm.
Yes.
Am I an interested party? Yes, you are.
Yes. Okay.
Now, how do I do it? There's a ministry here that regulates how you may work.
We have a conversation this morning with Professor Daniel Ichang'i, and we're saying, okay, well, rich but poor. I thought as we come back from this break, we would look into, all right, you talk about ministries then who have a delegated responsibility to see that these resources which are there are actually exploited and used towards the development of the economy. Ministry of Mining, and there's another name. I think it's just ministry.
It's mining, blue economy, and maritime affairs.
Yes, it encompasses a lot.
It's a lot.
But before we go into now what the job actually is, can we look at the spots around Kenya whereby you do have something? You talked about Savorite. We talk about, gold in the western part. What else are we looking at that's available around the country that can actually be exploited?
Well, yes. If you look at the geology of the country, we have a major geological feature called the Rift Valley. That's something we cannot ignore. Within it, we see the geothermal activity, that we are using the steam from underground to generate power. Now, that steam could also have mineralized certain areas with, again, precious metals. We see soda ash at the bottom in Lake Magadi, and it's been mined. It's a very interesting lake. It keeps renewing itself. The more you take out, the more it creates.
True.
Very interesting. And then we have Lake Turkana to the north where we're finding oil and gas. We have this high area in Naivasha where we have steam. And Menengai crater itself has reputedly about 600 megawatts of power. Why nobody takes it out, I do not know. And you need cheap power if you're going to industrialize, because then your products will be competitive.
Yes.
Our power is very, very, very expensive. Then we were told 400 million tons of coal in Mui Basin in Kitui. Right there. Now, 400 million tons of coal at what, $40 per ton? And the people in Mui are poor. And when we discuss, do we go ahead and really look at this and find out if it's real? Because that's where I would start. Do we agree? All these politicians come in with their four-wheel drive vehicles and the whole thing becomes a mess. And then on top of that, we have a big belt that we call the Mozambican system that starts in North Mozambique through Tanzania, through Kenya.
I guess.
In some places it has indications of uranium.
Uranium, okay.
And uranium is the cheapest power that you can generate anywhere. Have we looked at it? Not quite.
Okay.
And
then, of course, Western gold.
Western gold and silver, they all come together. And then when you go towards Pokot, there are indications of even platinum and chromite and other metals, manganese.
And these are not traces. They're considerable...
what we haven't done is to quantify.
Okay.
But the scale at which they are occurring makes some of us very interested. We think we are not cheated. Yes. They're there. Okay. We used to, one of the exercises I used to give my students is a certain mountain in Pokot and Turkana, and I will Seker, and I will tell them, okay, according to this geological report, you have 5.6 million tons grading a certain amount of platinum. Can you do the maths? And then go and look at the price of platinum and the platinum group elements nationally today. Again, it runs into billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So these things are there. But we need to quantify them And one of the things I keep challenging, and I'm also challenged, by the way, by people, to be fair, is that every year this ministry does receive taxpayers' money in the budget to actualize some of these programs. Can they be held to account to show us what they've done in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years?
You know, Prof, it's quite serendipitous, actually, that I've gotten a message from the village.
Yes.
And this ties to the question I asked before the break that I was hoping you'd answer. I'll not say the Luya greetings, but he says Oriena, which means hello.
Hello, Oriena.
And he says the entire Bumula sub-county, half of Matungu, half of Kabuchai, and Kandui are full of traditional iron ore. I don't know what modern iron ore is. And he says they call it Burare. And we got names like Esirare, meaning endowed with iron ore.
Yes.
And names like Esengeli, meaning a place where iron was extracted.
Yes.
Now, where do we begin as locals to take advantage of this potential? So basically what he's saying is these areas had iron ore because you had blacksmiths back in the day. So he's quite correct. Yes. My question is...
And the same tradition, the same technology they were using is the same technology that can be applied to gold.
True.
Yeah, it's metal.
My question, as it were, we have found gold in my father's land. Dad, I hope you're listening. You leave me this land. You said that the land is owned by everybody.
No, the minerals.
Yes, the minerals are owned by everybody. And I don't feel like I own Savright. And you said, I find it, I'm an interested party. So they're interested parties.
Yes.
So what do they do as a community?
What they should do as a community is engage with the mines and geology department of that big ministry.
Yes.
Because they have an office in Kakamega.
Yes.
They have an office in Kisumu.
Yes.
Go there and say we would like to be assisted to take advantage of what we are finding here. And they will tell you. They have organized groups into what they call artisanal and small-scale miners. And I love those ones. By the way, the big boys can take care of themselves. Yeah. I love the artisanal small-scale miners because those are the people who are going to actually benefit directly. When you sell gold through a big mine, you have to wait for profits to be declared in London. But these people from Ikolomani... where they do a road by the market and they say, stop that tractor. There's something interesting here. Those people should visit that department of this ministry in Kakamega, talk to the geologists and the mining engineers there. And they will organize them very easily to take advantage of that. And of course, they'll take care of the concerns. We don't want people buried. You know, many people die.
Yes.
Because they are doing it juakali.
Yes.
And there's deep weathering. The soils in Western Kenya are very deep. So after you pass a certain threshold, it becomes risky. Life is precious, even more precious than that gold.
More precious than gold.
Oh, yeah, it is. Life is more precious than gold any day.
Isn't there a requisite requirement then of infrastructure at the very basic level to have these things? And I keep going back to the California gold rush because it's a glaring example of what can actually happen when you have a marriage of government, what would be supporting a private infrastructure for there to be benefit across board.
Yes.
Benefit for the government, benefit for the people who rushed from across the United States to California when one person sounded the alarm, like, you know, we know that now Mark will find his way to Western now.
I'm sure he will.
And now, pitch camp there. You see? So people did that. But now the government looked, whatever government of the day there was, what it did is that it allowed the state to become a state.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Yes.
But there needs to be the infrastructure for that to go on. It's not just folks going ahead. It's okay, well, let me see if I can find some gold today in the back,
The infrastructure is there, my sister. It's there.
The implementation of policy to allow the infrastructure thrive seems to be the bane of this particular issue.
Yes, and I came back to licensing because there are certain gatekeepers who make it very difficult. I wish they would love us. They're already rich enough. Allow us to help my brother here
Yes.
visit Kakamega and be given a fair deal.
Yes.
Because the knowledge is there. And when you have money in your pocket, my brother, it will help the chicken farmer, the maize farmer,
Yes.
the sugarcane farmer. All of us will get something out of it. So the infrastructure is there, but the gatekeepers must allow us.
And why
They must allow
when you
us.
say must allow us, and you've said it,
They must allow
you've said
us.
it the third time now.
Yes.
When you say must allow, is there a roadblock to getting these licenses?
I think from where I sit, yes.
And are these roadblocks legal, or is it institutional?
I think it's institutional, if you ask me, because the laws we have in Kenya are as good as anywhere else, as far as I'm concerned.
So people should not own mines.
No, you can.
So what are we saying here? Because
But you must operate according to the law, and you must be vetted and policed, so that when you tell us you have produced 100,000 Troy ounces, it is actually 100,000 Troy ounces, not 150,000.
Right.
Let's operate according to the law. Otherwise, we will become a Wild West.
Yeah, but my question is, Dr. you referenced to, for example, the project you talked about, I think in Nyeri it was, and you talked about the licenses and the hard to get. I really want to understand what you mean by hard to get. And you just said that it's institutional.
Let me say this.
Not legal.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Right now, I think the minister, the CS for mining, or brother, I call him my brother because he was a governor of a county, is the one who actually, at the end of the licensing process, will have to sign himself. Now you imagine a country of 580,000 square kilometers. How many permits are on his desk right now?
Sure.
And I think he's in China with Munene.
Uh-huh.
So this week,
No work is being done.
no, because he has to personally.
Yes.
I think we need to adjust a bit. A CS is in charge of policy. But right now, he's away. He'll come back, maybe he'll be sent somewhere else. Can we unclog that system and give people the licenses so that they can go and work?
Okay.
Some of these things are institutional. They are within the framework of how a government works, and they can be sorted out tomorrow if they so decide.
Because what we can see is that if you then open this up, you then get policy then being implemented, you then get those doors being opened. Essentially, we start to see that the economy gets an injection, and then we can start to grow.
And you then begin to attract serious players because your regime is predictable. These people who are coming to invest here in exploration, in mining, are using other people's money. They have shareholders. They want to know that their investment is safe.
Secure.
But if you keep on this business where we are poor, yet we are rich, people go to Tanzania. Tanzania has now moved itself very, very well.
And that's a question I was about to ask you. I have interest in Tanzania, and I'm probably going there next week. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, how many of my friends that I talk to on a regular day, I think out of 10 of my friends, 2 or 3 of them own a mine somewhere, small scale and different scale. I see and meet Chinese people in Tanzania going all over the country, and they get the licenses and things like that. In fact, there's a thriving business of selling your mining rights to other people because that's how good that mining certificate
All of it
is.
within the law.
Yes. All of it legal.
All of it legal.
All of it legal. So why is Tanzania thriving in this particular thing?
Tell me, my brother. We are East African community. We speak Kiswahili.
Yes.
Sote.
Yes.
They have a president. We have a president.
Yeah.
They have a minister. We have a minister.
Yes.
Oh, cabinet secretary.
Yeah.
Why should they be thriving? The geology doesn't stop at the border with Kenya. It comes through Western Kenya.
Yes.
Nyanza to Migori, your area. Why is it that things are done made so difficult in this country? Hey, and we have people. we have educated Kenyans. We speak English better than an Englishman. Why is it that we are here suffering? It's a question of leadership. The leaders surely must answer that one.
I don't know. There's a spirit. There's something.
And you know, by the way,
it's not human.
The problem is then within that clogged up system, of course, corruption must come in. Kabla hii license iende, toa hii, unione hapo, au uone ndugu yangu, au uone nani. Why is it that, and you already are doing well, you are rich, allow people to go walk this country and discover what else is there.
You know, you raise very valid and pertinent points, and I'm balancing how much the big question is always debt and how much we are getting and things like that. And the math you've done, I've tried to do it in the head, and some of those numbers you're talking about can offset quite a number of our loans.
Yes.
What, and let's talk large scale.
Yes.
As Kenya, as a people, can we raise the funds, for example, to have a serious gold mine ourselves?
Good question. And I'm glad you're a patriot. Yes, we can.
Yes.
Because the first people to invest in our resources should be our people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is our country. And by the way, one of the things with Tanzania is nationalism.
Yes.
You don't go there. I got arrested one day for trying to go to Merelani where they mine Tanzanite.
Yes.
They protect their area. But I explained, I'm a teacher. I cannot be teaching about Tanzanite at the University of Nairobi if I have not been to where the only place where it has been found. But because of that experience, I said, before I go, Lord, allow me to find Tanzanite in Kenya. You should have seen how many hits I got on my socials.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's so good to say that this is the only place where Tanzanite is found.
Yeah.
It makes it expensive. It makes it valuable. Yeah. It's a marketing tool.
Yes.
Now, if I come and say, iko ingine. Some other person may also say, oh, if Ichang'i did that, maybe we also have it.
True.
So, we should be able to invest. And there is a National Mining Corporation of Kenya, which is an arm of government that is supposed to help Kenyans tap into this industry. All the strategic minerals, the ones that have been declared strategic, are supposed to be only worked with involvement of government.
So we are actually punching beneath our weight, and we are working almost as at cross purposes with this economy development. It's trying to do its thing here, but it seems that everything that we do or not do is counterproductive to that economy which wants to thrive. That you're going to have to put in, it's like they say, if you're going to test for something, you have to introduce an agent to see whether that thing exists. In this case, if you're testing for it, you have to introduce the implementation of policy to see what this thing can really do.
And the policies are there, they're in place. There's nothing, you know, when you talk policy, minerals were supposed to be one of the Vision 2030 flagship projects. What happened? And 2030, by the way, is not very far. It's 5 years from now. Have we achieved what that vision was supposed to do for us?
But what are we really doing?
What are we doing?
What are we really doing? I'm sorry, but I think we need to sit really and...
it's a leadership issue. I keep saying it. If you allow Kenyans just to do what they're supposed to do, according to the law, this is a country that we can revolutionize inside 10 years. And you people wonder what really happened. Yeah.
Okay. You know, as a parting shot, we've talked about government and government listens. The Kenyan.
Yes.
Kenyan young person, Gen Z, 30-year-old, has kids looking to change his career. I want to get into mining. How would you say I go about it? I don't know. Do I go to Ikolomani and buy an acre and start digging and find it? No. Do I go to the geological survey and do guesswork? How would I start?
Go to the geological survey, the mining and geology section of that big ministry. Go and look for some geologists in there. The director. Tell him you are interested in mining. Could somebody give you a bit of some information? You will be given free information. I'm sure there are many geologists who would really love to share information with you. I do it all the time. Come to the universities. TUK, Kenya Technical University of Kenya, University of Nairobi, Jomo Kenyatta. There is even the Taita Taveta University now that teaches this. Go there, engage with people. You'll be given information. You'll be given a little bit of training.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll be shown the law. Kenyans are willing to share information.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once I get the information and I am on the ground, what are some of the legal things I need to do on the ground so that they understand what is briefly
the journey starts with prospection, and there are licenses. There is a license for that.
Okay.
Prospection and even large-scale exploration. Then you are licensed to look in a certain area. You are allowed to peg an area. If there is nobody else who has pegged that area, you can pay a little bit of money for it. Join even the local cooperatives. Artisano in Kakamega, they're there. I love that people have come and set up groups of Kenyans in cooperatives to mine and to explore together. The synergy. Because unaleta 100 yangu na mimi naleta 100 yangu. We begin to talk together. What did you find in your place? What did I find in mine? That synergy.
Yes.
And I am interested in the small person myself. The big ones can take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They can even hire expertise from South Africa, from England, from wherever.
So that's what communities can actually do.
Yes.
Because we're looking around communities. It doesn't matter what cluster we're looking at in Kenya, that those who are crying today and saying, we know that we are mineral rich. We don't have the power to do anything on our own. But I'm hearing you say that communities can actually come together, maybe force government to
and they must be prepared to work within the law. Let them work within the law. I want to say the rule of law is key to development. If you go to Botswana and play around with their diamond industry as a foreigner, you'll be in jail by today. So let us be able to work according to the rules. We have the constitution, we have all these policies, we have all these laws, and it works. Even the cooperative movement is now in on this.
So there is something that can be. What would be a message that we need to start looking into at this point? Can't be rich and remain poor.
No, we have to agree as leaders, let's say, because we all are leaders, that we will work according to the rule of law. Don't deny Kenyans opportunities because you yourself is able to grab licenses everywhere. Let us work. Let the small person work. And by the way, the artisanal workers are the ones who eventually lead you to the big one.
True.
And then they can become your shareholders.
It's amazing.
Because they're the ones who are on the ground. The California story.
Yeah.
There are mines that have produced, 20 million, even 100 million troy ounces, one mine.
It's very possible.
One, yes.
And we need to look at that with a lot more clarity and seriousness, one would imagine.
If you look at the Golden Mile mine in Australia, it was a number of small mines all over the place. And then someone looked at it and said, wait a minute, this is a giant.
We can come together.
And today, they produce 1 million troy ounces in an area that is probably 3 kilometers by 1.5 kilometers wide.
The potential is what should spur us on to growth, and that's for sure. The Professor Daniel Ichang'i has been our guest this hour, and we're looking at Rich But Poor, Kenya's untapped mineral wealth. The hope is that as we have these conversations, something can actually move. We want to thank you for being here with us this morning and sharing your insights. Asante sana.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.